Hey everyone, this is Diane House, and this is my presentation for my case study on, my presentation for the case study on the missing Booster Club funds. And I just thought this was a really interesting case, probably a little bit more of a complex case than we've seen thus far, or at least I've seen in the program. So a young lady qualified for state cheer. Her mom put together a budget and proposal for the school to support that, and the principal reviewed it, ultimately denied it. And then fast forward to we're at the last home basketball game, and there's a large crowd there that night, and the mom of this young lady through the Booster Club is helping run the gate. And at one point in the evening, another patron tells the principal that he paid with a $50 bill. So as the principal was looking to balance the cash box that evening, he does not find a $50 bill. He does, however, find a report that 10 tickets were unusable due to tears in them, or they were torn or something. The cost of those tickets of those 10 tickets together is $50. And so that's really where we're left on this. So then, problem identification and analysis. So what do we know? We know that this mom worked at the gate that night and that all tickets were pre-numbered, and there were already, it appeared to be, careful procedures in place for managing events with best practices. The one man, Mr. D, reported to Mr. S, who is the principal, that he used a $50 bill to pay for entrance into the game. We also know that 10 tickets were discarded, allegedly, due to being torn. We know that the money bags and reports balanced, and that $50 bill reportedly used was not present in the cash bag. There's just so many questions on this. These were just a few I wondered. Are there any $100 bills? Were there any $100 bills in the concession stands? Or in the concession bags? Where are those discarded tickets? What are the typical procedures for what happens when they have to discard tickets? Were there indeed 2 adults working the gate the entire time? And did the other adult help verify those torn tickets? So for me, the problem identification is this. Is money actually missing? All reports reconcile. And so to me, that makes this a complicated situation. And are there legitimately tickets that have been discarded? I guess we need to know that too. So onward, the proposed plan of action with strategies. The first thing I think we need to do is just that evening, I would have probably gone to look to see if I could even find the discarded tickets, even if it meant digging through the trash. I would probably investigate, just ask some questions, some of those what don't I know questions. I also think as we go through this, we need to assemble a team that would review these procedures and see if these procedures are still the best procedures. I'm a consulting type of person, so I would probably want to talk to our auditor or somebody about this and see if we needed to implement any new safeguards. And I just know at Skyline that the place where we collect money for tickets is indeed on camera, so I would probably review the camera footage first with our business manager before I did anything else. You know, this is a touchy situation. Just because that mom was denied her daughter being helped by the school, that's a big leap to take to assuming that she's stolen money. We know that the trip was $800. I mean, if $800 was missing, might be more feasible at $50. That's a long ways away from paying for a trip. So I would be very, very cautious about even sniffing around to a point where I felt like someone might feel that we were investigating them. There's a lot of collateral damage in a situation like that. So I would want hard evidence before I began really talking to very many people outside of trusted other administrators. I also think that we need to consider, what do we do with these big bills like the 50s and the 100s? It sounded like that the principal was overwhelmed that night with supervision because it was a large event. And so do we need to look at helping shoulder that responsibility? And then obviously I would document, and then just keep that in a file for potentially future use. So ignore the screaming children in the background. It's the weekend. So resolving the issues, I think we need to think of some way that we can help support students who receive outstanding honors and they need to travel. That might even be through the role of a team member. Maybe the team has some responsibility there. I think we need to plan for extra administration on large events to help adequately supervise. And procedurally, maybe we need a position, a board member of the booster club that's not actively engaged in collecting gate or concessions, but maybe acts as a supervisor. The facts from the case that tell me that we need to look at some of this stuff is that this is a uniform approach, that we're not going to help any student who gets an honor to go to state. We're not personalizing based on our student population. And I think we got to build a culture of team, and that sometimes team members get extra honors, and so we've got to look into that. It kind of felt like maybe that the administrator didn't have the ability to supervise as much as he wanted to because of the overwhelming numbers. And I do think that probably need some type of supervisor over those gates and concessions. As I've already mentioned, I'm uncomfortable with potentially investigating a parent in good standing unless we know that we know that we know. I think this building has above average procedures and policies in place, but I do think additional safeguards can always be implemented. Outside consultation was the first thing I thought of how to address this circumstance. And I think that includes the booster club, not specifically about this, but it's the end of the season. What a great time to reflect on what can we put in place for next year. So the evidence that I saw that the school leaders promoting effective management of the school district, the principal takes under advisement budget requests by the parents. I like that. He looked at it, and his position was to protect the interest of the students, and did all those safeguard accounting practices that we've learned, like pre-numbered tickets, concession inventory. I like that there's a strong parent volunteer, and he secured the premises and worked with a security guard to oversee him counting the money. That was good stuff. How does the school leader promote the social learning of every student? Sounds like they've got great things going on, after school events, reading buddies, principals actively supervising student participation in sports activities, and there's a high percentage of parent volunteers. And how did they promote the academic learning? The Reading Buddies program, sounds like you have a strong PTA, and the monies used are supporting projects that benefit all or the majority of students. You know, athletics are academic learning opportunities, and so the adequate supervision and just the opportunity to participate in those. Tricky situation. I would put in this position, if I did not have hardcore evidence, I would look to tighten up our procedures and move on from this, not unconcerned by the $50, but I would not be willing to damage relationships by false accusations on this. Relationships are at the core of everything we do in our district, so I would not want to risk that in a situation where I just feel like there is not enough data and evidence to say this woman has taken money. Thanks for watching.